first things first, we're gonna look at some new cards, both from the OCG and from the TCG. So some cards that are gonna release for us relatively soon, next week, Maze of Millennia. We're gonna talk about Maze of Millennia a little bit. Before we do though, we have two new cards or groups of cards rather announced from the next core set in the OCG, and that is Goblin Rider support and believe it or not, Snake Eye support. So first things first, let's do the, I think, less exciting one first. I haven't seen these yet, but the Goblin Riders are getting some support in the form of a rank 3 exceed monster, which is their entire thing, right? They're all about making rank 3 exceeds. Goblin Biker Grial Trio. Light Warrior exceeds needs 2+ level 3s. If there are 3 or more materials attached to monsters on the field, your goblin monsters can attack directly. Okay, so as long as you have like another exceed, you can make this and then all of your goblins can attack directly. That's not terrible, but obviously only has applications when you're already winning and playing the game. Once per turn, if a monster is normal or special summoned while this monster is on the field, you can target one of them, detach one exceeds material from a monster on the field, and if you do, change the targeted monster's battle position. Do Goblin Riders have anything to do with changing battle positions? Like, do any of them? I don't remember all of their card effects, but is this something that they can use to their advantage? I don't believe so, right? I don't remember it being about this. So you're not supposed to change your own things with this, but I mean, using it on your opponent's cards also isn't really that great, because you can't put the stuff face down. That's not what this does. You know, you can do, if they summon something in attack, you can turn it to defense once per turn. That's not a very powerful interruption. Third effect, once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, detach a material from a monster on the field, and if you do, negate the attack. Dude, that's Utopia. You gave this thing the effect of number 39 Utopia, which came out 12 years ago or some shit like that. 13 years ago. This card's not great. This card's not great. This card is, most importantly, I don't think this is what Goblin Riders needed. I think, I mean, most notably, I think one thing that this thing does, and I don't know if it exists yet, I don't think it does, is it gives rank 3s in general a way to attack directly for a Zeus. But only if you have another exceed monster, right? Like if you're playing any deck that makes exceeds, you can just make this as your second rank 3 and then you can attack directly and then you can make a Zeus. It's funny because when I read the first effect, I expected this one to be kind of like the niche bonus on a card that has another good effect, but I'm gonna be honest with you, the second and the third effect are almost irrelevant. The second and the third effect are so bad that the only use for this card that I see is the first effect, which is not a great effect. But if you're playing a deck full of goblin cards, maybe you can just ignore your opponent's board. You just ignore your opponent's board and just attack them directly, right? That's somewhat interesting, I guess, but I don't know if that's good enough to see play. It's not great. Not great. Not gonna sugarcoat it. Goblin King Gigantic. Thank you for the dono. And then we have Goblin Biker Pile Up. You can only use the first and second effect of this card name each once per turn. Target an exceed you control. Special a Goblin exceed from your extra deck using that monster you control as material, and if you do, attach this card. Okay, we have a rank up trap for goblins. I don't remember exactly all the goblin exceeds that they made, but this is theoretically not terrible. I also don't remember if they had a way to search a trap for free. I believe they had a goblin spell trap searcher, right? I think they did have a way to search spell traps, so that's nice. Ranking up is a decent ability on a searchable trap card. You know, there's better trap cards out there, but there's also much worse. Depending on how good the Goblin Exceeds are that they have already and that they get in the future, that's a decent ability. But okay. You can manage this card from your grave, then target a Goblin Exceed you control, and one card in either grave, attach the second target to the first target. Okay, that's a decent graveyard effect. Mostly because you can use it for like graveyard interruption, right? You can, like, let's say you can use it like a sort of DD Crow kind of thing. When you have a Goblin Exceed and this card's in your graveyard and your opponent goes, I don't know, Tearlament effect, you go chain, banish this, and attach your Tearlament to your Exceed as a material. That's solid, you know, and it works with any card, like someone in chat is mentioning right now. It's not only monsters, so even something like, you know, Pearly to rank up, Big Welcome in the graveyard that they cannot chain this turn, you can attach it, whatever, you know, Runic Spell that they try to shuffle in, Sinful Spoil before they get to banish and draw a card. All this kind of stuff. That's a useful card. Of course, it's a trap card, and you have to actually, like, your deck has to be good for you to be able to play the trap card, which I don't see that out of Goblins right now. Like, that's the thing. And this is already it, by the way. This is the only 2 Goblin support cards that they announced, and that's a problem, because I believe this card down here is not the type of card that makes a deck that is currently unplayable, which, I mean, you can't really sugarcoat it. Goblin Riders in the OCG is not doing anything. It doesn't appear anywhere. This is not the kind of support that makes a deck that doesn't see play become viable. That's not really the type of thing that this support does. It would be good support for a deck that's already meta. You could, like, consider putting it into your already meta deck. But it's not gonna make a non-meta deck meta because you get this trap card, I don't think. And not even talking about the Exceed, because I'm gonna be honest with you, that has a very small chance of actually seeing competitive play. But I'm like, it's, you maybe for some cheeky OTKs, but that's about it. Like, yeah, I wouldn't call it unplayable. It's just not competitive. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I see. That's what I'm saying. Like, on the competitive landscape, they don't appear at all, and this is not going to make them appear, right? I mean, it's a cohesive strategy that you can play if you want to, but from competitive side of things, there's currently no reason to in the OCG, and I don't think these cards change that problem. So yeah, moving on to something I was, I guess, surprised to see is the wrong word. Or the wrong thing to say, because I'm not surprised that they're keep doing Sinful Spoil support. It was more like a shock to me this morning when I opened the page, because the deck is already so freaking meta in the OCG that I wonder if they give this even more support. I haven't read them yet, but there is Sinful Spoil / Snake Eye / Diabellstar support in Legacy of Destruction. So let's go ahead and find out. We have a level 8 here called Snake Eyes Diabellstar. Okay, that's somewhat interesting because it's both a Snake Eye and a Diabellstar card. So I believe you can search this with Wanted. I believe Wanted just specifies Diabellstar monster, right? It doesn't say Diabellstar the Black Witch. So you could search this with Wanted, but you can also access this with the Snake Eye card. So that's interesting. It's an interesting bridge between the 2 archetypes. But that requires it to be actually good. Okay. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn. When an attack is declared involving this card and an opponent's monster, you can place that opponent's monster and this card face up in their owner's spell and trap zone as continuous spell. Okay, that effect is not too great. Let's hope for the second effect to be better. I mean, the first effect has uses, but it's not the reason to play the card. If this card is a continuous spell, you can target a fire monster in your grave, except Snake Eyes Diabellstar, place it face up in its owner's spell and trap zone as a continuous spell, and if you do, special summon this card. Okay. The second effect is better than the first effect. The question is, how easy is it going to be to get this card into the spell and trap zone? Because the second effect has its uses, you know, being able to, if this thing is in my spell and trap zone, I can summon it out by putting another monster from my graveyard into the spell and trap zone. That's neat, right? Does the Snake Eye field spell place this, or does it say level 1? I believe it places any Snake Eye, right? Field spell or dramatic chase. Okay. So okay, this I don't think this card is a bad card, but I also don't think this card is amazing. There is a chance that there are some uses for this, yeah, because it's a level 8 that you can relatively easily special summon if you want to. So you could potentially now with Flamberge Dragon, you have access to rank 8 monsters in the deck now, but if you want to. It's a secondary search target for Wanted, which I think that in itself makes it interesting, because sometimes you open Wanted and the Black Witch, right? And if you open Wanted and the Black Witch, you don't have a great target for Wanted. You would be able to use it, but you don't have a good target for it. So having a secondary target, even if it's not as powerful as the other cards in the archetype, could be interesting. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I think from my current perspective at the Phantom Nightmare Snake Eye cards, or like what's being played in the OCG right now and soon to be meta for us, that deck is already such a well working machine, such a it flows so well together, it has so many great synergies, that I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if you would put a card like this into a deck that's already so freaking powerful, right? Like if the deck ever gets weakened by a potential ban list, I could see them maybe resort to other Snake Eye cards, right, that are replacing other stuff in their deck. But as of now, with the power level of the deck being so high, I don't know if a card like this really is able to make the combos any better, because the combos are already really, really strong for the deck, right? And even something like drawing Wanted with Diabellstar is not the end of the world, because you can just discard the Wanted for the Diabellstar, get your Sinful Spoil spell, and then draw a card with the Wanted later, so it's not even that bad. Not even like it's super necessary to play a secondary one, a secondary target for Wanted. It's still a +1 with Populace. I mean, it's not a terrible card, that's what I'm saying, but it's like, I think the bar for a card to make it into a Snake Eye deck is higher than it just needs to be a solid card, because the card quality in that deck is already insane, right? So if I want to make a new card that goes into those decks, it needs to be really, really strong. But okay. There's more. There's another Snake Eye. No, it's not a Snake Eye. It's a Sinful Spoil. Battle of the Sinful Spoils. Quick play spell. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Target cards you control up to the number of your Sinful Spoils cards that are banished and or in your graveyard, and or cards your opponent controls up to the number of their Sinful Spoils cards that are banished and or in their graveyard. Destroy them. Wait, what? Okay. Target cards you control up to the number of your Sinful Spoils cards that are banished and or in your grave, and or cards your opponent controls up to the number of their. Destroy them. So if I'm playing Sinful Spoils cards and my opponent doesn't, I can only destroy my own cards. Am I reading this correctly? And if my opponent is playing Sinful Spoils cards, I can destroy their cards. Okay. I mean, coincidentally, this is probably better against Sinful Spoils decks than you. I mean, yeah, this is like a anti-Sinful Spoils card, no? It reminds me a little bit of Wavering Eyes. It reminds me a little bit of Wavering Eyes. Banished cards work for both. No, I think it's your Sinful Spoils that are banished, or their Sinful Spoils that are banned. No, it doesn't work. No, banished does not work for both. You're reading it the wrong way. It's your Sinful Spoils that are grave and banished, or their Sinful Spoils that are in their grave or in their banished. I mean, I kind of like this, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think that Sinful Spoils need more support. I think that'd be kind of scary. I think it's somewhat cool that they are at least trying to print a card that is kind of countering Sinful Spoils more than it actually helps them. I don't know if the card is good enough against Sinful Spoil decks to the point where you would side deck it. Like, would I, if I'm playing against a Sinful Spoil deck, would I be side decking this card? Right? Is the question that I'm asking myself right now. And I'm not sure if it's good enough because, like, they only, I mean, at least currently it would only always pop one card, right? Because even if they draw Wanted, the Wanted banishes itself and puts the other Sinful Spoils back into the deck, so they only have the Wanted that's banished. So it's only a quick play, destroy one. In that sense, which isn't even, it's not that bad, but I don't know. If this set card is destroyed or banished by an opponent's card effect, activated effect, you can shuffle up to 2 cards on the field into the deck. Okay, weird. Why is this here? If this card is destroyed or banished by an opponent's effect. Okay. I don't know, man. This card is weird. This card is hard to evaluate. This card is very hard to evaluate. But yeah, it's weird. I think it has potential to be used as a side deck card if there ever is a deck that plays more Sinful Spoils than what the current decks do, right? Because from at least looking at it, what people are doing in the TCG right now, it's only 3 Wanted and a Sinful Spoils original Snake Eye. Against those kind of decks, you wouldn't side deck this card. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe the card just isn't as good because it's usually just going to be at maximum a pop 1, or it's going to be a dead card. So I don't think it's that good actually. Yeah, it's not nearly as good as like a Wavering Eyes in Pendulum format was. But yeah, okay, all right. So not that alarming for the Snake Eye support overall. A relatively niche card that isn't bad in the first one, and then a very niche card that's at least somewhat interesting but probably not very good in the second one, which is probably good for the health of the game overall, is that they're not making Snake Eyes any better than they already are, because goddamn, they don't need support. The Snake Eye archetype does not need more support beyond what they already have, so that's probably good news here. Okay, we're not gaming yet. Okay, new gold prides, a main deck monster and a corresponding synchro, which is always the kind of thing, right? They always have a main deck monster and a corresponding extra deck monster, so that makes sense. We have Gold Pride Assassinator, level 5 Earth Machine Tuner. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, special summon this card from your hand. You can banish one other Gold Pride from hand, face-up field, or graveyard. Special summon a Gold Pride token with the same level as the banished monster. For the rest of this turn, if you would use this card as Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Link, you can only use it as material for a Gold Pride Fusion, Synchro, Exceed. Okay. That is pretty good. That's I mean, that basically, if you banish a level 3 Gold Pride, which there are plenty out there, this just makes a 1-card level 8 Synchro. Gold Pride Annihilator, level 8 Dark Warrior Synchro, 1 tuner plus 1 non-tuner. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, target a Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Link on the field. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can target 2. Destroy those monsters. During the end phase of the turn you activated the first effect, return this card to the extra, and if you do a special summon. Okay. I think... You know what makes this card mediocre, in my opinion, is the fact that it's only during your opponent's turn. Which means, like... I can't really break boards with this at all. Nah, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. The main deck monster had high hopes. The main deck monster seems good because it's a 1-card level 8 gold pride synchro, but the level 8 gold pride synchro just isn't that great. Like, I'm sure if you're playing gold pride, you'll take it. Like, I think if you are playing gold pride, you would probably put at least one of the assassinator into your deck, just because if you go full combo, at the end of your combo you can just summon the assassinator from your hand and add an annihilator to the end board for free, pretty much, right? So you probably take it, but I don't know. It can make the link 2. Yeah, you can make the link 2 instead. What is the gold pride link 2? Is there a link 2? Oh right, Nitro, dude. Is that even a good? I don't remember that even being good. Gold pride Nitro. Nitro Blaster. You can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during activate. Okay. I suppose what you would do then is going second, you make Nitro Blaster with it. Going first, you make the Synchro with it. That does make it a little bit better, going second, right? Like, currently, I don't think they play this dude, but you probably would if you play Assassinator, right? So, like, going first, you make Annihilator to pop on your opponent's turn. Going second, you make Nitro Blaster to pop on your turn. That's not too bad. But that doesn't make, like, it doesn't make Gold Pride insane or anything like that. It's not, I don't think it's what they needed to be like, yeah.